So we're going to travel up the peninsula, if you will, from Sturgeon Bay. We celebrated the 50th anniversary here at the Sturgeon Bay Museum earlier this year. Tug John Purvis celebrating a 100th anniversary. Cana Island, 150th anniversary this year. And for people that haven't been there over the last year, or maybe a couple of years, what are some of the new things that people can see at Cana Island?
Well, the Cana Island is part of the county park system. And we are the managers of Cana Island and the Lighthouse Station on behalf of the county. This year, as you note, we are going to be celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Cana Island Lighthouse. We'll be working with the county to plan a special celebration on Wednesday, August 7th, which just happens to be National Lighthouse Day, where we will officially celebrate Cana Island's birthday. But we're also working with the county on the development of plans for a new Welcome and Interpretive Center on Cana Island. That is going through the bidding process right now. We suspect that construction will start on that sometime this summer, and that will become fully operational for the 2020 season.
Yeah, so any guests that come out later in the summer may see that construction underway for the new Visitor and Interpretive Center, and that's an important step for Cana Island to have a place where you'll be able to have some experiences and learn some things, especially since the lighthouse is 150 years old and not everyone can climb the 97 steps to the top. So we want to, once that building is up, be able to provide an experience and get the information of what you can see from the top of the lighthouse, the shipwreck areas that are visible, the shoals that are so clearly visible when you're up there and you can see what caused havoc for some ships and why the lighthouse was even built. And we're talking now about developing something where you can get an idea of what it looks like without having to go to the top if you can't climb the steps. So there's a lot of that will come with that. But for this year, it's the big party on August 7th, and again, more cake. Probably, at first we wanted to build a lighthouse cake, but there's no way you're going to get that across the causeway successfully.
Because you have to ride the tractor if there's a lot of water and stuff.
Right, you're gonna, and right now there is a lot of water. It's been as high as it's been well over 2 feet as we get ready for the season. So that's a challenge. How do you get a cake out there to celebrate? But we've got that covered.
I think we're going to be cupcakes and cookies.
Yeah,
on
cupcakes and cookies will be the better choice. But yeah, we invite everyone. And if you haven't been to Cana and you're looking for something to do, and you're watching this, then it's certainly close enough for you to come on out. It's a fantastic experience. You can't walk on the island and not feel the history, and not feel the hundreds of people that have been there, that worked there, the families that lived there, and the lighthouse keepers that lived there. And if you are lucky enough to climb to the top with those 97 steps, we talked about it when we were there cleaning up just a week ago, that imagine climbing those steps with the oil, the lard, what it took to fuel that light. So it's just, it makes you grateful for the technology we have today, and then to see that magnificent Fresnel lens that's up there. And that's the reason why the Interpretive Center is being built. Really the main reason is at some point the Coast Guard will want that lens to come off the lighthouse and be preserved in the proper environment, and we don't want that lens to leave Door County. So, and neither does the county board. So that's a great building to put in place. It'll have everything that the Coast Guard wants it to have for that lens to live there forever.
And the construction of the new Welcome and Interpretive Center represents the beginning of the final phase of the full restoration for the Cana Island Lighthouse. We've been undergoing an ongoing process of restoring the lighthouse, bringing it back to its glory, repairing it and preserving it for future generations. Once we have the new Interpretive and Welcome Center built, that means that we can take a lot of the administrative and commercial functions that we currently have in the lighthouse keepers' quarters, take those out of there, and then do the full restoration of the keepers' quarters to bring it back to a more historically appropriate era.
And you mentioned Cana Island Lighthouse sits on county park property. You just manage it, but how important has that relationship between the Door County Maritime Museum and the county been to really preserve a special part of the area?
I was going to say I don't think I don't think the preservation that's happened and the preservation that's to come could happen without an arrangement like this. We have a Cana Island Advisory Committee that has people on it from the county, people on it from the historic preservation side as well as the museum side, where we can all put our input in and make sure that all voices are heard on the direction that the preservation takes over the next few years. It's not just one person or one organization's lighthouse or island. It is this county, this community, this state. I mean, everyone has a vested interest in that, and in order to do it right, we want it there for the next generation and generation after to have the same experiences that we're having there.
And we have been associated with the lighthouse. The Door County Maritime Museum has been associated with the lighthouse since the early 1970s.
Yeah.
We were working out there under the auspices of the United States Coast Guard when they owned the lighthouse and the lighthouse station. Once that ownership transferred to the County of Door, that's when the real renovation and making that whole experience accessible to the general public became a reality. So it's been absolutely essential part of the transformation of Cana Island into a full county park that is accessible to people. And it's not just about the lighthouse itself, it's about the island and all of the other buildings and all the historic buildings that are out on the island, the beach, the opportunity to walk along the rocky shores of Cana Island, to see little bits of coal that have washed up from shipwrecks over generations, to be able to know that just really within rowing distance or paddling distance from the shores of Cana Island, there are 3 shipwrecks stacked one on top of another that date to the 1800s. It's just a fascinating experience to be out on Cana Island.
If you're watching this, that means you're good online, and I would invite you to go to the museum's YouTube page and look for an archive video there from black and white in the early 1900s. There was a family that went out there with their movie camera and shot film on one of the shipwrecks while the ship was still there. And they climb around on the ship and they have some fun at the ship's wheel. But in that film, there's a shot of the Cana Island Lighthouse through a portal on the ship that had wrecked on the reef. So it's just cool to know that it's there and it's been there that long, and those ships were there. I mean, that ship eventually was basically not scuttled, but scrapped and taken apart and the steel hauled away. But at that point that family had that movie camera out there in the 1920s, early 1920s, mid 1920s, that the ship was still there.
Once again, opening on May 1st. If people want to check it out, what do they need to know?
Visit the Maritime Museum online, dcmm.org. As Kevin said, you can find us on most social media channels. It's #DCMaritime. That includes Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube.